Welcome back, guys, to the PLO Mastermind. In today's video, we're going to take a closer look at strategy, the first and most important element of the four mastermind elements. Again, those elements are strategy, tactics, mental game, and optimization. Sun Tzu, a Chinese general, a military strategist, writer, and philosopher, wrote in his often referenced book, The Art of War, "Every battle is won before it's fought." So how can you win a battle before the fight has even begun? The answer is strategy. A battle is nothing else than two strategies colliding, and these strategies can be crafted ahead of time, before a single man has seen the battlefield. How good you are at playing poker is defined by your strategy. How successful you are as a poker player is defined by your strategy and your capacity to execute on that strategy consistently. While playing under emotional control and making smart, educated decisions when it comes to bankroll management, table selection, exercise routines, and sleep patterns matter a great deal, there's no bigger indicator than the effectiveness of your strategy to predict your success in poker. It is your ultimate power as a poker player. The best poker players have the best strategies, period. And that brings us to the question, how do we craft a strategy that is effective and superior? An effective poker strategy is based on the following principles. First, it is based on mathematical facts, which means we're going to ground our justifications for certain strategies based on GTO solutions and empirical data. Game theory optimal solutions are solutions that are created by solvers that run billions of hand examples against each other to understand what the best course of action is based on the context of a balanced strategy. We're also going to work with empirical data. We're going to look into thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of hands to understand what lines work the best based on the empirical data at hand. Second, we do need to create strategies that allow for adjustments to take advantage of our opponent's mistakes. That is also commonly known as exploitation. So we cannot 100% rely on GTO in a real world where people are making mistakes all the time and where we do have data to identify those mistakes. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at the mathematically based groundwork based on GTO solutions, but we're also going to incorporate exploitative adjustments based on individual players or the field. And combining those two things together will yield the best profit and the highest expected value. Third, an effective strategy doesn't offer easily identifiable counter adjustments, which is also commonly expressed as balance. So if we do make adjustments, which we should against our opponents, we have to make sure that we're not making adjustments that are so drastic that they are opening us up to become exploited ourselves to a great degree, where we end up losing the money that we were making based on our adjustments back to our opponent because of that counter adjustment. Fourth, an effective strategy is being evaluated and worked on continuously, known as optimization. So if we are incorporating a certain line into our game, then we have to continuously evaluate it and see if it is actually working in the context of how people react to the strategy. And then continuously improve it to optimize it based on the new won information that mainly comes from experience. And lastly, an effective strategy is often used by top players consistently. And here the quote from Picasso, "Good artists copy, great artists steal." It's a controversial quote here by Picasso because he basically says you get inspiration, that's a nice way of putting it, from other artists / poker players, and you see what you like and pick it and incorporate it so well into your game, and most likely improve it to a degree where people are attributing this play to you. That's a steal. And what we're going to do is we're going to look what some of the top players are doing and how that could work out in your current environment. And out of those 5 poker strategy principles, we're going to craft the best strategies long term. Next up, I want to talk about why narrowing your focus is extremely important and highly undervalued in today's society. Here is a quote from an old schooler. "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful, if not the most successful investor of all time. What we have to understand, specifically in today's society, is that it is very easy to be an opportunistic person, which just jumps on the next trend or the next shiny object. And that is a massive mistake in poker as well. Poker is a deep and rich game, and what we have to make sure is to narrow our focus and become an expert at one specific thing. If we do that, then we are naturally going to stay ahead of people that are spreading their focus on too many shiny objects. So for the matter of this course, we're going to focus on 100 big blind to 150 big blind stack sizes only. We're going to focus on 6 max cash games and the most important win rate affecting situations, tools, and strategies. Again, poker is a very deep game. There are MTTs, there are sit and goes, heads up, live poker, short-handed games, short stack games, deep stack games, anti-games, and so on. And all those different variations that don't fit this description, they will at some point or the other look at you and seem like a very attractive alternative and opportunity out there. And I want you guys to not focus on anything else than was written on this page for the next 10 weeks. Narrow your focus and put it all into one basket in order to come out as an expert and gain a natural edge over your distracted competition. Next, we're going to talk about preparation versus execution. And this is a massively important concept when it comes to crafting and utilizing strategy. It's not the will to win that matters. Everyone has that. It is the will to prepare to win that matters. There's a huge misconception in poker, which is that people who are not winning players, they don't want to win. And that's not true. We all want to win. We are all competitive. That's why we are entering a competitive game in the first place. And if you have a lot of passion for poker, if you have a very competitive drive, that's not enough. That is not going to make you win. You have to prepare, and you have to have the will to prepare, which is a different will than the will to win. Just as preparation and execution are two different things. Again, poker is a rich and deep game, and its mastery requires deep research, experimentation, creativity, and a strong mindset while performing. What is required is preparation. So before you head to the table, you have to put in the work, and you have to become obsessed with that type of work. Execution happens at the poker table after the research, learning, and training is completed. Winners analyze every game to avoid making mistakes over and over again. So no winner is made without preparation. Look at these faces. We got Michael Phelps, we got Roger Federer, Michael Jordan. Who do you think these people would be today if they wouldn't put in or would have not put in the hours away from the game or the competition? Again, every battle is won before it's fought. And when you think about these 3 examples, we now know why. Because Michael Phelps doesn't win a race in the moment. He does it before, in the weeks and months of training ahead of the competition. And you should look at this the same way as a poker player. Your preparation is going to define your success. Next up, I want to talk about the improvement cycle, which is going to function as a framework for you going forward to continuously improve, evaluate your game. I'm going to start with a quote again. Learning is a constant process of discovery, a process without an end. Bruce Lee. If you look at this picture that comes from chess, I like this picture because it showcases that you have to look at the same thing from multiple angles over and over again. And that's learning, that's discovery, and that's passion. Passion not for playing the game, but for learning the game, for discovering strategies. And again, strategy is your ultimate power. And that's why you have to approach poker as a game of never-ending learning and discovery. Now, let me talk about the research methodology that I'm employing in order to provide the strategy for this course. We already touched on it in the poker principles, or the poker strategy principles. First, I will research the equilibrium. Second, I will find a pattern and simplify it. For example, oh, these types of hands are always 3-betting. Then I'll build a concept around the pattern. So I'm going to say, all right, now that I know that these types of hands are always 3-betting, what is the principle behind it? Maybe we do want to balance our 4-betting range with that sub-branch of hands because of a specific reason. Once I build the concept, I'm going to verify the concept, which means I'm going to play around and see if it holds true in all situations. And then we're going to optimize it to adjust for our opponent's weaknesses. So how can we take that concept? What are the exceptions that we need to look at in order to tweak it sometimes if our opponents show a specific leak? And then we're going to integrate it. So this process is what I'm doing away from the table to provide the strategy for this course. It's not what you have to do. What you have to do is you have to integrate it. But I just want to be clairvoyant here and show you exactly, or transparent, and show you exactly what I do away from the table in order to come up with the strategies that are suggested. Now, how are you learning in the PLO Mastermind? First of all, you will hear about a new concept or strategy. That's in the theoretical strategy videos. Then I'm going to show you some examples and illustrations of how it happens, how the strategy applies in a specific situation. Then you're going to test and train the strategy, which means we're going to show you quizzes you're going to go through to see if you actually understood the principles or concepts correctly. And we're also going to send you to some training so that you can actually work with hands in real time and subconsciously learn how to execute the strategies and concepts correctly. Then you're going to execute at the tables, play poker, and then you're going to reevaluate what happened. So you're going to post hands, you're going to go ahead and do your own improvement sessions, you're going to study basically what happens, and then you're going to optimize. And out of this learning process resolves the poker strategy improvement cycle. First, we're going to focus, then we're going to prepare. Afterwards, we're going to execute and then evaluate and optimize. And this is a never-ending process, as I mentioned before. Lastly, I want to touch today on the strategy grid. So the strategy grid is going to represent what fields of strategy we're going to focus on in the next 10 weeks. What needs to be discovered, what needs to be nailed down essentially when it comes to the strategical aspect of this game. Here is an overview of the strategy grid. On the left-hand side, we can see the pre-flop fields. On the right-hand side, the post-flop ones. And these areas display the most win rate impacting situations that we have to figure out. It starts off pre-flop on the left-hand side with RFI, raise first in ranges from all positions, then cold calling in position ranges. How do you cold call versus one player? How do you cold call in position when there's already another cold caller behind? The big blind defense versus one player and versus multiple players. Then 3-betting pre-flop. How do you 3-bet? How do you act against a 3-bet? And also, how do you squeeze against raisers and callers? Over to the 4-betting frequencies and ranges. How do you react versus a 3-bet? So what hands are you going to 4-bet? And also, how do you play versus 4-bets pre-flop? Those are the most important topics to cover when it comes to your pre-flop strategy. And we're going to cover every single piece in the next 10 weeks. On the right-hand side, then we have single raise pots, 3-bet pots, and 4-bet pots. And these can be separated into in-position situations and out-of-position situations. You can be either the pre-flop aggressor yourself, you can be up against the pre-flop aggressor, or you can be in a multi-way pot. And that is the way we're going to separate them from each other. Now, the last action steps here for today's video is I want you guys to print out the effective PLO strategy principles and always have it present. Put it into the room where you're improving and grinding. You want to print the PLO Mastermind strategy grid so you have an overview of what we're going to cover when it comes to strategy. And I want you guys to print the poker strategy improvement cycle, which is going to help you to always understand what cycle you want to go through to improve your game consistently. Thanks for today's attention. We're going to see each other in the next video, guys. Let's crush it. Fernando, over and out for the PLO Mastermind.